Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dawes-Bird, and as always, I am super excited to be here. I'm trying to hold it down. I am trying to hold it down and keep it together because today is a very good day. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta, sunny skies, it's a little muggy, you know how it is. But our kids here, some of them have already started going back to school. My son goes back to school on Monday, so it's like, this is it, right? And I know all my people that are listening in the Northeast are like, what? They go back already? I'm like, yeah, they go back in August. So it feels like our summer is shortened because our kids are starting to prepare and go back to school. So we want them to be safe, mask up, you know, the whole thing. It's a whole thing going on here, down here in Atlanta, but we're trying to be safe and just cognizant of what our kids have to go through. I just want to welcome all the new listeners, all of our new listeners today. Thank you. Let me give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. We're all about creatively collaborating, connecting to raise awareness regarding issues that impact women, right? And we do it by way of community service, public speaking, mentoring, workshops, and the arts. And we've been doing this particular platform. This is our 6th season of having people that I like to talk to, that I find that are doing legendary work, all about the empowerment of women, just really good, dope people, just doing some dope things in their profession. They're passionate and they have so much to share. So today is no different. I also want to introduce the sponsor today. Today's show is powered by the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I had the opportunity of having those wonderful ladies here, Martha Diaz and Renee Foster, a couple of months ago, and so the connection is still here. It is time for hip hop in New York City, summer 2021. Listen, I wish I was able to go home. My kid will be going to school, so I can't really not be here while he's going to school. But listen, they're doing things in the Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens. Go to the website. UHHM.org. Universal Hip Hop Museum is doing some incredible things. They had a learning series this past weekend that ended. It's been phenomenal. So thank you for partnering and powering today's show. Without further ado, let me just get right into it, right? Okay. Today, my guest is a dancer, choreographer, radio personality, TV personality, entertainer, dance teacher, gymnastics coach, producer, director, podcaster, actress. She is hip hop. She is hip hop's favorite girl, none other than Leslie Big Lez Segar. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
How are you?
You said big legs. Donnie Simpson used to call me that all the time.
Yes. Welcome. You beautiful thing, you.
Thank you for having me. And I love that you mentioned my girls, Martha Diaz and Renee Foster.
Yes.
From Universal Hip Hop Museum. Those are my sisters. We've been in the churches a very, very long time. And I'm glad that there are females that are like in the realm of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Yes. So I just went to the panel for them a couple of weeks ago, which was great.
You did. I saw that and you did a great job. We're going to talk about some of those things. Leslie, let's jump right into it. Born in New York City. Yes, right? Yes, New York?
Official Queens around the way girl.
Yes. I was feeling a Harlem vibe, but I'll take Queens. All right. Tell me, what was the neighborhood like for you growing up as a kid back in Queens?
Well, you know, all of New York City really is just like a melting pot, right? Like there's Latinos, there's Dominicans, Colombians, Puerto Ricans, African Americans, and Indian community and Asian community. And that's what my like elementary school, junior high school was. I think we were all like relatively middle class, and everybody, you know, when people are surprised that, you know, Latinos own stores or the Asian people own, you know, whether it's the typical or stereotypical, I should say, laundromat, nail salon, but every race in my community owned a piece of real estate, and we were, you know, worked a storefront and stuff. So it was, you know, this is when kids grew up in the streets, right? Playing stickball and double dutch and dodgeball and handball courts and jam park and all that other stuff, and roller skating and ice skating and riding bikes. Like, I'm part of that generation.
I was a handball girl, and then the paddleball came out, and I got my paddles from Models on Fordham Road in the Bronx. Shout out. And so we hitting the ball on the side of the community center. I know exactly what you're talking about. I want to talk about, when did you start gymnastics, Leslie? When did you get exposed to that?
Well, I actually started what's considered very late. I was about 9 or 10, and I was such a tomboy. I hung out. There were like maybe 3 girls and like 8 boys who lived in my building complex, and we used to hang with the boys, climbing trees, whatever, and then be in the park, and be flipping on the grass and stuff. And I would always be flipping in the house, and that's when like Wild World of Sports would come on Saturday mornings, and the gymnastics and stuff would come on, and I'd be glued to the TV and start teaching myself stuff. So my mom put me instantly in a trampoline class by the hospital in which she worked. She's a nurse. And literally after 2 classes, the instructor's like, you need to put her in gymnastics. She's really good. Yeah. And once I got into gymnastics, within the first year, I was competing in national competition. So most gymnasts start like when they're 3 or 4. Me starting at 10 was kind of late, but the progression was amazing for me. And it was just like a sense of community and consistency and progress and hard work, and it got me a full scholarship to college.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. That is awesome, Leslie. I want to ask you, tell me, what did you feel when you first heard hip hop? When you first heard it, what was that feeling that came over you?
I mean, and it had to be for me probably like either like a jam in the park or on the hill and it just kind of was like, when you don't know it as a kid, when the hairs stand up on your like skin or the electricity shoots through your body, and then you feel everybody just starts like this groove and stuff. And for me, it was just seeing, we all dance. Black people are never shy, and we groove to any sound of a drum or a beat or whatever, and we're rhythmic in our soul. And it just, the roller skating rink was like my second home. I was there every Friday and Saturday. And so that's when you really start to hear it, start to see the break dancers. And of course, I come from like the original New York City where, there are break dancers on the street, the Israelites are preaching, 42nd Street is filled with like peep shows and porn stuff, like graffiti on the trains, the rats all over the place. Like I'm from the dirty New York original city. My environment was nothing but loud music and dancing and all these things that were like candy to me. So to hear it and to feel it and to just be entrenched in it, and then seeing my friends do it. I grew up in East Elmhurst, Corona, Jackson Heights, Queens, and that's where like DJ Wiz, Kid Play, the Super Lover MCs, like all those guys were first for me who, we all went to like high school where we're a couple of years apart, but we all hung out together. They went to, we're in the same grade as my sister and stuff. So even seeing them start their group early, the Disco Twins and all that other stuff was just like food for my soul,
Nice. Awesome. Man, you took us back. We talked about 42nd Street too when I had Martha and Renee. And I remember coming out of the train station, you see like condoms going down. That's how gritty and grimy and dirty it was. We would go down there and just play arcades, and there was the boy that used to play on the plastic bucket. And cops actually walked the beat, and it had a grittiness to it, but it had like an aliveness to it too, right? It was like no other place you wanted to be but in 42nd Street. So I totally know how you feel. Were you always a dancer, Leslie? Like, did you have to balance between this vibe and this love that you have for hip hop and being a gymnast? Did you feel like you had to pick one over the other, or you were able to infuse both?
No, I was able to really infuse both. I think because I was in honors classes from like 3rd grade to 12th grade. So because I had really good grades and did well in school, my mother gave me like freedoms. And you're already a latchkey child for most people.
Yes.
And if you don't know what that means, it's like if you have both parents that either work or you're a single family home and your parent works, you get the keys, you wear them around your neck, you feed yourself, you take the train, you take the bus, and you're very independent at like 9 or 10 years old. So gymnastics was absolutely my structure, but I also got to hang out in the park, and I also looked old enough that I could sneak into the clubs. And so once I started to be able to get into like Latin Quarter and like the roller skating rinks and see the dancing, then I became a club kid because I maybe took ballet for a very short time. My gymnastic training is my dance training, and then the club is my dance training. So I'm a house music head really before I'm a hip hop head. Even though hip hop came out, you know how to do the WAP and the, all of that stuff. House music came out. That for me was something that just ignited fire in my body, and the freedom and the smoothness and all of that stuff. And then of course I was affected by TV shows like Fame, watching Debbie Allen, or even before that, Darcel Wynn, who's one of my heroes. Some of you may be too old, but please go to YouTube. Solid Gold.
Yes.
And Darcel Wynn was this tall gazelle, long legs, and
with long hair, yes.
Stirring it up, and I could turn the towel around my head, kicking stuff around the house. My mother would like, sit your ass down. So that's where the dance came from. So being able to, like, gymnastics by day, house music and clubs, and hip hop or battles, and by night, it fed every bit of me. So no, I never had to.
That Solid Gold was a staple in our house, like every Saturday. And not for nothing, I think they gave her extra dance moves, like extra dance routines, because she was so fly and she danced with everybody that she danced with. She just blended and she was just so charismatic. So yes, I remember her. I remember. So she was your hero. You looked up to her from a dance perspective.
Oh my God. And within the last couple of years, she's become my friend. I've had to interview her on my podcast. Like, I reached out to her on Facebook. She got right back to me. We met, we hugged. I damn near couldn't keep it together. Like, that's a full circle moment, right? In the words of Oprah, like, you just don't understand what you did to me as a little girl in my living room.
Right.
Knowing I could be you. And I still have yet to meet Debbie Allen, but my only really experience of hearing her was, I did the open for I think it was the Soul Train 25th anniversary that Rose was choreographed.
Yeah.
And I remember doing backflips down the style of the stage. And I can hear Debbie going, yes, honey, yes! Look, after I finished and I saw her standing up and she pointed and I just was like on stage about to cry. And I was like, oh my God!
Yeah. You killed it. You killed it, Leslie. You killed it. Everything you do, you kill. I want to talk about the dance crews and like the gypsy life, like living in, like hanging out in Washington Square Park, that era. Come on and talk to us a little bit about that. Set the stage.
Yeah, people don't understand, because even though I had just graduated college, right, had a bachelor's degree, thinking I already had a job lined up. So I'm in this workforce of doing like sports medicine, exercise physiology, but my soul is screaming like, oh my God, I need something else. And I had gotten into a 5-year master's program for sports medicine, but you can only compete 4 years on a scholarship. And I was like, I gotta dance, I gotta go. So I opted out my 5th year, which of course in hindsight, I regret a little bit.
Okay.
But, there was no internet, right? There was no Google, there was none of that stuff back then. There was not even like pages and stuff. So you really were pounding the pavement trying to figure out what work was and how to get auditions. And so there were newspapers like Backstage and Showbiz that had all these listings of auditions and stuff in the back. Or I forget what this little book was called that had listings of agencies where maybe you can, apply to be an agent. But I never had an agent. So I always hung out in the Village anyway, because that's where all of the like artistic and creative people, all the ones who don't want to listen to their parents and just want to, hang out at night are. And the inspiration was I found my gypsy family. You're gone for the day because everybody knows you got to hop on the train and nobody's trying to be on the train all day to go back home. So you pack all of your stuff, change clothes, deodorant, whatever, in case you stay over for the next day, all the sweaty stuff, whatever. Yeah. And I just found my little community, and each one of us would hear about an audition or something, whether it was, Moni Love, Father MC, Public Enemy, KRS-One. And then the bouncers would always let us into the clubs for free because we kept the party going. So never really had to pay. And we'd be on the dance floor all night. We knew all the DJs, and we'd be about speakers, we'd be battling. Yeah. There was a handful of us girls who would be battling the guys, but even though it was a battle, it was still like a learning community because you feed off the energy and the skill of the other person. Right. And it was hard to really see, like, even for guys, I never saw any of the guys really do a lot of backflips and stuff. So I was able to incorporate dance and backflips at the same time. But back then, too, a lot of the artists and the record label people hung out in the clubs in New York. Like everybody, the A&R, the video producers, directors, the artists themselves, because they'd be on the open mic. So they'd be like, I want you. Can you be in my video? And that's when business cards were a thing. Come to the office. Here's my card, blah, blah, blah. And so it was that kind of a thing. And I just even before that, I remember sitting in my dorm and I'd watch like Paula Abdul or Jody Watley, and then I look at the name on the as the video credit would come up, MCA Records, and then you have to dial 411, and then you get to the receptionist, and then you have to ask the receptionist, how do I get in the video? And they send you to the video department. Like it was really hustling, and I was committed to that, and that really became, you know, you send packages, you lick an envelope, like the way people would send in their demos, like I had to shoot like a video VHS tape of me doing dance and gymnastics and stuff and send it in. But most of my work, 99% of my work came from really battling in the clubs and stuff. So.
Wow, awesome, amazing stuff.